Listening? Yeah. Yeah.
No, I have not.
Reggae? Okay, good.
Good morning, everyone. My name is John Martin, and I am calling to order the Tuesday, July 19th, 2022 meeting of the County Development Committee. It being 10:01 a.m., and I would request, please, that the clerk call the roll.
Brown,
Down here.
Berman,
Berman here.
Bird, Iqbal,
Paul present.
Kenyon,
In here.
Woniki,
Present.
Braz,
Roger.
Caius,
Caius present.
Pirog, Shepro,
Shepro present.
Martin.
Martin
You have a quorum.
approves.
You have a quorum.
Ryan, I'm present. Yeah, and I approve of being present, I guess is what I meant. The next item before us is the approval of minutes. The minutes that you received in your email were in fact the correct minutes that we're reviewing for today. There's a typo on the agenda, but absent any objection from the committee, I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes from April 19th, May 17th, and June 21st.
Mr. Chairman, I would ask for unanimous consent to approve the minutes from April 19th, May 17th, and June 21st, 2022.
Do I have any objection to that? Hearing none, the minutes stand approved. Monthly financials. The report is attached. Do we have any public comment this morning exclusive for comments directed to specific petitions? None being shown. May we please begin with the Building and Zoning Division, your zoning report.
Good morning, Mark Kirchhoff, Director of Development and Community Services. Our team continues to work on our zoning applications, as we have several this morning, building permits and inspections and code enforcement. Of note, since you saw the presentation about the Live Golf tournament upcoming in September, we will be doing the permitting and inspections of the temporary structures at Rich Harvest Farms. That's a continuation of an intergovernmental agreement that was adopted by the Village of Sugar Grove and Kane County for some of the previous golf tournaments, and is still in effect. That's typically been a good arrangement for everyone involved with that. Also, just of note, this year, as you're aware of the budget process, the department and different fund budgets will be presented in August at the various committee meetings. So I'll be presenting next month the general fund and several of the special program budgets here at Development Committee, and then some of the other special fund projects fund budgets at Jobs and Agriculture Committee. Some of you may also be aware with the ad hoc budget committee that I'm working with Director Welnick and the State's Attorney's Office, HR Director Jamie Labrillo, and Madam Chairman and Cliff Surgis on a property code enforcement unit, which we'll be introducing into the budget for 2023. That would be a professional and inspector and admin support for doing property code inspection, not just exterior property maintenance, but a coordinated code. So a lot of our violations actually cross departments between the health department, between Director Welnick's water resource enforcement issues, our building and zoning kind of across the board. So proposing this as a more efficient and effective way to do our code enforcement work for the county on behalf of our constituents. And we work with many of you board members individually on complaints and issues in your districts, and we're confident that this would improve the county's process and get people into compliance and satisfied quicker. So with that, that's the only comments I have for this morning, unless there's any questions.
Mr. Caius.
Not a question, but a comment. I think that you're on the right track with the professional approach to the zoning violations. And I heartily approve.
Great, thank you.
Your efforts have been blessed. Anything else? Then let's proceed with petition 4596.
Good morning. Your first petition is petition 4596, Big Rock Township. This is for a F district farming to F1 district rural residential to allow an existing farmette to be sold from the surrounding farmland. And I think Blair's bringing up the PowerPoint for me. This was not applicable to the Regional Planning Commission. And here we go. So this is its location. It's on the south side of Wheeler Road, set way back off of the road right away. Here is the zoning map. It's zoned F district farming. Here it is on an aerial. You can see it's an area that is predominantly agriculture, dotted by farmsteads. Here's a close-up of the subject farmstead home and structures are, as I mentioned, set back way off of the road. Here's a plat showing the geometry for the proposed F1 rezoning that would allow it to be sold off from the farmland. Staff recommended findings of fact, the rezoning would allow the existing home to be sold separately. Staff recommended stipulations included the typical recommendations and stipulations from Water Resources regarding the stormwater ordinance and imperviousness for that. This was not applicable to the Regional Planning Commission. Zoning Board of Appeals recommends approval with the recommended stipulation, and it's before you this morning. And I'm not sure if there's someone from the petitioner who's here for any questions.
I show Jeffrey Lewis here. Are you wanting to speak or first off, are you present?
Good morning. I am present. Yes.
And are you here to ask questions or answer questions or to make a presentation?
No, the county's done a fine job of presenting it. I'm just here to answer questions if need be.
Well, you were wearing a necktie. I thought perhaps you wanted to speak.
Well,
Just a joke, just a joke.
I can charge extra if I wear the tie.
Oh, okay. That's a good lawyer. May we have a motion, please?
Fraz second.
Kenyon moves, Mr. Fry seconds. Do we have comments or questions? Hearing none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Brown,
Brown, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Winnicki,
yes,
Fraz,
Fraz, yes.
Caius,
Guys, yes.
Martin.
Martin, yes.
Yes.
Motion's approved. Petition will be recommended accordingly.
It was the tie.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. The next is petition 4597.
Good morning again. This petition is requesting a special use in the B3 business district to accommodate a concrete construction business. Located outside of the city of Elgin in an area that is for our urban development mixed use. This is an area that has some existing business zoning that goes way back. This particular parcels on the north end of a development that is an old B3. Over the past decade, we've brought some of the southern parcels and uses into compliance by having them apply for a special use for some of the outdoor storage, auto body shop, some of the other things that require special uses in the B3. The subject parcel is at the north end of that business park area. Here's the aerial. It is adjacent to the city of Elgin, as I mentioned. It is accessed by the street to the west, which is in the city of Elgin. Here is an aerial of the subject area. Here is a site plan. They propose to use the building. The special use will allow the outdoor storage of the construction equipment. There are some considerations for drainage in the area, which are addressed in one of the stipulations, and Director Welnick is available here if there's any questions regarding those. Here is an aerial of the subject property. The staff recommended findings of fact, the special use will bring the property into conformance with the proposed use. Here's the water resources recommended stipulations. This was not applicable for the Regional Planning Commission. Zoning Board of Appeals recommended approval with the recommended staff stipulation and an additional stipulation that slatting be added to the fence to better screen the property. And it's before you this morning, and I believe there's someone from the petitioner available if there's any questions.
May we have a motion, please?
I'll move it.
Ms. Winnicki moves,
Fries second.
Mr. Fries seconds. We have comments.
Yeah,
Barb?
I have a question. I think it was the second slide that was up there. I saw a creek running through the property. I wondered if this was anywhere near that creek, the business that wants to, let's see, what business is it? Allowed outdoor storage of vehicles. Go back one more, Blair, if you can. Go back one more.
There's actually a wetland area to the north, and that spillover from the wetland area comes into the drainage channel that's along the back rear property line. That ditch that runs along the back property line is very poorly maintained. And we have in the past tried to work with those property owners to try to improve the drainage through there. During flood events, this property does flood. And so we want to ensure that the grades are not raised in such a manner that it would impact adjacent properties.
Any other comments or questions, Mr.
Is that
Kdot?
Tyler Creek or is that south? I don't know.
It's a ditch that was built with the subdivision. I believe it's a tributary eventually of Tyler Creek.
Tyler, so it feeds into Tyler. The, and the slatting, does that go all the way around? I know across the street is a park.
That is not a water resource condition.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, the slatting would be a condition to be on all the fencing.
So all four sides.
Mr. Fries?
Yeah, just if I understand correctly, this was up until very recently used for storage of heavy equipment, and it's going to be now used for concrete contractors. So that area has traditionally been fairly heavy industry, even though it abuts some residents to the east. So I think we're at the very worst maintaining the same type of usage and probably in actuality going to a slightly less intense use. So I would support it.
Thank you. Madam Chair?
I have a question for Ms. Winnicki. As far as drainage goes, do we have to worry about trucks or whatever being there and having oil or pollutants dripping down into aquifer?
I'm not familiar with the subsoil. I would have to pull that up on our aquifer contamination map. Certainly as Mr. Frost pointed out, the use was significantly heavier in the past. And so I think that will be an improvement. Most of the site is gravel, however.
Is that something we should be concerned about?
Typically, if this were to be a new site, we would require it to be paved and that water to go to a best management practice with an oil water separator.
So we're grandfathering it in?
Under the stormwater ordinance, we don't have any authority to require that.
And one more question, then I'm done. Tyler Creek, what does that feed into? Is that feeding into the Fox?
Yes, it does.
Through Judson, down by Judson.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Oh,
goes throughout.
Mr. Kenyon.
What's over there where the white is? Like a nature area? It was junk until years ago and the ocean upgraded Hawthorne Woods. That is.
Yeah.
And I think you'll see that right there.
Where?
Anything else? Hearing and seeing none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ford,
Lord, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Winnicki,
Yes.
Braz,
Braz, yes.
Caius,
Yes.
Martin.
Martin, yes.
Yes.
Petition is approved for recommendation. Item C.
Good morning. Our planning team working on our Growing for Cane program, working with our local foods program, which has resulted in a lot of the great efforts supporting our local growers, like the grants we just gave out at the development committee meeting. In reviewing how we're supporting those businesses and some of the requirements in our zoning ordinance. We have been discovering that some of those items need to be reviewed and updated, particularly with language relative to agritourism and some of the venue type proposals that we're getting in some of the current trends in agritourism. As well as some of our regulations concerning farm stands in terms of minimum lot size, stipulations on a number of outside products that can be included in a farm stand. So we have been working as a team on reviewing those items to improve how our zoning ordinance handles these stipulations. And you have a memo in your packet kind of outlining what I just said in particular. We back in July 7th, grateful to the Farm Bureau's board for having us out to have a discussion on that. We received some good comments and support from the Farm Bureau board members in terms of acknowledging that they felt that they knew local growers and farmers that would benefit from some improvements to our zoning ordinance language. So this morning and then on Thursday morning, we're introducing the fact that we'll be coming forward with a text amendment next month. Next month in August, we tend to have an initial review of that draft language for both committees, and then looking towards September for a zoning board of appeals public hearing as required by the zoning ordinance, and then back to development ag committees and the county board for adoption. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, but just want to keep you updated on what we're working towards to support our local farms and growers.
I think making it more flexible is a great idea. So you're looking for a nod of the head. I think we're all nodding.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Nothing further. Planning and special projects.
Okay, you have in your packet a report on the various projects that our planning team is working on. Most of these are reported to other committees. The one that I'm going to add, as you're aware, our Madam Chairman and Kane County is sponsoring a workforce housing summit on August 23rd. And Chris Toth on my team in particular and myself are working with other departments and the county board office to plan and put on that event in August. We're getting a lot of good comments and feedback and learning a lot about what's already happening and some of the opportunities. So with that, I just wanted to, you can put this report on file at the end of the meeting and let me know if you have any questions.
Any questions? Just as an observation, you can't go anyplace these days, but what people aren't planting bunches of trees, particularly oaks. And I've joked, I said, my great grandchildren are gonna live with a lot of trees. But it's really fun to see I see a lot of golf courses and all the empty places on golf courses are filling up with oak trees. And I think we're gonna find this to be a very attractive, that's attractive now, but far more forested place in another 20 to 30 years. Thank you. Madam Subdivision Expert.
Good morning. We're going to start on the western side of the county this morning, Pineview Subdivision. We're over here in Virgil Township. Oops. The owner is requesting a reduction in the front yard setback. It currently is set at 50 feet. He desires to add an additional garage space onto his house, so he needs the front yard setback to be reduced a little bit. We're over here north of Kesslinger and west of Meredith. It's a subdivision that's fairly isolated. It has farmland pretty much all around it. A little closer to the aerial of the parcel itself. This is the house in question. He intends on putting an addition on the front. I want you to know that the owner owns both of these parcels. However, the dividing line, or the common lot line between these two parcels does contain stormwater pipes, and it would be difficult to expand to the east without having to relocate those pipes. This is a simple schematic of what he intends on doing. As you can see, the front setback is at 50 feet. He's requesting that be reduced to 40 feet. He does have an advantage in that his house was already built almost 60 feet behind that front setback. So the reduction, it aids in him having additional space for the proposed garage. So this amendment does not increase density. It's been agreed to by all the adjoining neighbors and jurisdictions, and it has the support of the staff. I would also like to let you know that the owner is in the audience should you have any questions of him.
May we have a motion, please? Mr.
Rise
Fries
moves.
moves.
Kaya second.
Mr. Kyles. We have comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Brown,
Brown, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Winnicki,
Yes.
Bras,
Yes.
Pius,
Pius, yes.
Martin.
Martin, yes.
Pass.
Motion carries. Item B.
We're over towards the St. Charles area of the county today. This is a rather unique setback request that's coming before you. This is actually a existing residence. It's over south of McDonald and east of Stevens Road. He backs up into the Stony Creek, so he has no neighbors behind him. The parcel itself is at the end of a T. And obviously, as you can see, there's a residence to the north of him, so that T would not be continued at any point in time. This is the particular residence that is in question. He desires to add a garage onto the northerly end of his house. So we'll go here to the schematic to show you there's a number of items going on here. The house was built, I believe, in the 70s. At that point in time, you can see the setback lines as they were at that point in time. He was not only constructed over the front yard setback, the side yard setback, but also along this other side over here. In reference, the north is to your left. So that he was over the setback line on the south, the existing residence, the front, as well as the side yard over here. With the addition of the garage, which is going right here, he needs to reduce the setbacks on the front and the side. And obviously, since we're in this process, it's to his advantage to go ahead and clean up the setbacks that were encroached upon at the time of the original construction. So technical staff has reviewed this. It does not increase density. The neighbors have agreed to it. In fact, I did not hear one comment. I did hear from the township who was in agreement, and quite frankly, that jurisdiction has the biggest impact with the T intersection. The amendment has the support of staff, and the owner is in the audience. Should you have any questions?
May we have a motion, please?
Berman moves.
Wonicky seconds.
Got a whole batch here.
Falling asleep.
Ford. Mr. Ford and Mr. Kenyon seconds. Your questions? I have to say that on a personal level, I'm supportive of this. I live in a house that was built a little cockeyed, and I violate virtually every side yard and setback requirement that my subdivision had, and had to go in and get variances to add an addition that were kind of
Oh.
comedic, seeing that I was sitting on the zoning board in Geneva at the time, but for another day. There are no comments or questions. Otherwise, clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Brown,
Brown, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Wonicky,
Yes.
Braz,
Yes.
Caius,
Bias, yes.
Martin.
Martin, yes. Motion carries. Item C.
The final item before you today is out in Meadow Ridge subdivision. Once again, we're over towards the St. Charles area. This is a request for the removal of a restriction that is placed on the subdivision plat. The restriction involves access to Bolcom Road. As you can see, this is the subdivision over here, Meadow Ridge subdivision. The northerly section over here is their stormwater, which was then dedicated to the forest preserve. The parcel that we are most concerned with is the little blue square here. It's known as a portion of Lot 19. I want to call your attention to the fact that Bolcom Road has a curve right before you get to Lot 19. And it's not only a horizontal curve, but there's also a vertical curve out there. When Lot 19 was originally platted back in 1993, it was platted as a flag lot. This is kind of referred to as the flag pole portion, and obviously this is the flag. The intention was that Lot 19 would gain its access to a public right-of-way through Foxwood Court, which is on up here. On the subdivision plat, when this was originally recorded, there was a note that was placed on the plat that said only lots 25, 26, and 30 may gain access to Bolcom Road. This is primarily due to the fact of the curve in the road, which I said was horizontal and vertical. 25 and 26 are right here. And as you can see, they have to have a shared access. 30 is off the screen over here, and it was actually a pre-existing condition in which it already had access to Bolcom Road. In the late 1990s, the owner of Lot 19 elected to use the Plat Act and sold off the pole portion of Lot 19 to both lots 20 and 22, and then sold the remainder of Lot 19 to Lot 18. At that point, it did not matter that they had cut off access to the cul-de-sac, as the owner of Lot 18 and 19 were the same individual, and the house was constructed on Lot 18, kind of on the westerly portion of the lot. That occurred back in 1999. In 2011, the owner of 18 elected to sell that particular parcel, and in conjunction with that, they sold Lot 19 as a separate parcel, which was technically a landlocked parcel at that point in time. When the new owner of Lot 19 discovered they had no access, they walked away from the parcel, and the parcel ended up in a tax sale. At that point, it was purchased by an LLC, who in turn sold it to the owner who currently owns it today. When that particular owner came in for a building permit, it was noted that Lot 19 was not allowed to have access to Bolcom Road due to the curves in Bolcom Road. Kdot suggested that a site distance study be conducted. That was done by WBK, and Kdot has reviewed that study. Just to point out, here's a shared driveway that 25 and 26. 26 at this point is not constructed on yet, but they will share that driveway. And as you can see, the access for Lot 19 has been absorbed into the other parcels. The technical staff finds that it's the owner's responsibility to meet the requirements of the HOA. The adjustment of removing the restriction for access onto Bolcom Road does not increase density or reduce open space. I did not hear any comments from the adjoining neighbors. This does not change any of the utility or drainage easements on the parcel, and the reconfiguration of the property lines is not part of this adjustment. As I stated before, this is a PUD. So for those property lines to be readjusted, they should have gone through the process which is currently in place here, in which it would have been approved by the development committee. In addition to that, we have some findings for Kdot, and Mr. Rickert is here to address some of these comments, should you have any questions of him. So I just turn it over to you, Mr. Rickert?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take you through the findings of Kdot. The first one there is the plat of subdivision is still authoritative. We feel that that there has not been any changes to the existing plat, and we feel that that existing plat is what should be adhered to. Kdot access control regulation states that each lot will only be allowed one entrance drive. This is in comments to the current property owner is wanting 2 access points off of Bolcom. If access to Bolcom Road is permitted, and again, we're discouraging that, but if it is permitted, it shall be located as far to the west as possible. This is a situation where it doesn't come close to the recommended site distance, but the site distance study does show that for 50 miles per hour, it meets the bare minimum. We have that just in case there are situations where you have no other alternative. And so we do have a bare minimum that this barely meets. And then a westerly located entrance meets the minimum site distance. That's just to put that on record. But again, it doesn't come close to our recommended site distance. So there are concerns if traffic's going over 50 miles per hour, say it's going 55, 60, or 65. We have concerns with this access point. So our recommendation is that access to 19, that it should still be to Foxwood Court. And so, but if this committee, if the county board decides otherwise as policymakers that to allow this to occur, we can appreciate that policy decision. If that does occur, I would just say we'd really like to meet with the state's attorney's office and try to figure out how to make sure that things like this do not occur in the future. It set aside the county's planning efforts. It set aside the safety standards that the county board has adopted. And for a collector and arterial road, that's a concern on my part. And if it was a local access road, I'd have less of a concern, but Bolcom is heavily traveled and it continues to grow in traffic. And so we would just like to make sure that that we figure out a way to make sure this type of situation doesn't occur, because I think that if it can occur here, it can occur in many other locations. And all of a sudden we'll be looking at access points that we had all planned on not seeing and trying to make sure that those collector roads and arterials are protected. So this throws up a red flag for us. At the same time, it does meet the bare minimum standard for 50 miles per hour traveling traffic. And as much as we'd like to discourage it, I know that there's probably other nuances I haven't really thought about. And so if the committee goes forward with it, I just request that we figure out a way to make sure that this does not occur in other situations similar. Flag lots, maybe there's things that we can do, discourage flag lots, or maybe always put an easement on top of the flag portion so that the easement doesn't go away if people are moving lot lines, et cetera. I have no idea. I'd like the state's attorney to have a little bit more thought and input into possible future situations.
I have a,
If I may add, Mr. Martin, That's a synopsis of what Kdot had issued a statement. I do have additional copies of the full email that was in your packet if anybody wants an additional copy. And I would like to also let you know that Mr. John Hall is here. He's the contractor who is representing the owner of the parcel.
I have a question and a comment and a suggested course of action here. Part of this doesn't make sense to me, and that is that when you buy real estate in Illinois, particularly if it's financed, you're going to have a title insurance policy. And one of the absolutes in a title insurance policy is that you are insured access. Somehow this property has been sold twice with this issue not having been addressed. And I don't know if the title company made an error or if it wasn't done or if it doesn't have it. I'm uncomfortable with it as I sit here. I just feel like there's some unanswered questions. You've raised points, Tom, about time that you want to spend with the staff to feel comfortable with it. Where do we know, for example, in my mind, when the study was conducted, where was the hypothetical access point to Bolcom Road? Do we know that?
It was 2 locations, if I recall right. I
That's
don't know
correct.
if we have a drawing of it.
So the
contractor-
study contemplated the 2.
Correct. There was a access drive that was over on the westerly edge of the parcel. Noting that there was a busy road that they were going to access, instead of having a single drive here, they also had a loop that came over and connected. So they kind of had a U-shaped drive in the front of their parcel. Correct?
And we did. And we did look at the traffic study did look at the furthest point one, because that's where the ideal location is. And that's what the determination was made, that it met the requirements for the 50-mile-per-hour design speed.
Well, my personal thought is I'd like to have some of these issues addressed and would ask that we table this thing for 30 days to give the staff more chance to come back with some of the questions that you raised answered, I guess is my point. I don't like to see unused property. It's not beneficial to anybody, but Bolcom Road, if the speed limit is 45, I've never driven 45. Maybe I'm just confessing. Traffic moves fast on Bolcom Road, and it's a busy road. This is not, I think, something to just be dismissed, but.
Question, Mr. Chairman.
What's second? Mr. Fry's had his hand up.
I have a couple things, and we haven't done a motion in second. I don't know if we need to, but for the petitioner, I have a question. Has every effort been made to try and repurchase that original flag?
Actually, no efforts have been made to repurchase the flag because it was never on our radar until we actually applied for the permit and was notified that there was no access there. My client, when he purchased the property, the Alta policy states access, doesn't say anything about restricted access. And when we did our updated topography and survey, it didn't show anything else regarding that. And so my client had an initial design and for the horseshoe drives. And when we found out about it, we talked about, let's get the site study analysis to make sure that it meets the requirements. And while it is short of the Kdot recommendations, it is within the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, I think, which is actually one of the references in the ordinance, that if it does not meet the Kdot restrictions, to take a look at the other restrictions and look at it from there.
Okay, I'm sympathetic to the owner. I hope there's a way we can maybe clean this up and let them take advantage of their investment. I would oppose the horseshoe drive. I don't see why we have to double our exposure to have a horseshoe drive in there. I would say that if we were to table this, when it comes to discussion internally with staff and the owner, I would recommend just the one access at the west end. And also I have concerns long-term. If you go out on these country roads, you see that everybody puts a tree line and shrubs and all this stuff, that we have some kind of an exclusion zone around the end of the drive for trees and shrubs that would, 10 years from now, maybe provide site problems. So if the committee would like, I would be happy to table this for 30 days.
Oh, can I just, I'm sorry, Drew, one more thing. My client is open to having the one access on the western side.
Okay.
So, I mean, that would not be an issue. I think that the biggest thing is the investment in the property, that these earlier changes from the Plat Act back in 1998, obviously just everything happened and there wasn't really thought about that down the road. And, one person's already lost their investment in a lot. And I would hate to see my client would not like to have that happen either. I mean, he's building another house for himself and his kids here in the town. And we actually did receive 2 access permits from the St. Charles Township for that.
It's not their road.
Mr. Ford?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question. I have no problem with the 30 days, but if we do pass this today, can requests be put in along as what Drew was saying with the landscaping, make sure it's not blocking any vision? And also one other thing is, can the request be put in as a turnaround within the driveway so that they have the option of not bagging out onto the street, but being a turnaround in their own driveway?
Yeah, I think that's a valid concern, and I think it kind of takes us down the road here of saying, let's come in and have us review the final and, documented agreements, so that if in fact we approve this, we know that we're not waiting to see what the language is and making certain we have accord. So I think that I see a lot of heads bobbing here. Can we have a motion to table this for 30 days, Mr. Fries?
Fries moves.
Before somebody seconds, may I speak? Or
Oh, well, let's do it before we second. Okay,
just
Barb.
quickly, and Tom's probably not going to like this too much, but we have St. Pat's Church and St. Pat's Grammar School on Crane Road. So Bolcom becomes very busy on Sunday mornings. Crane Road, they all empty onto Bolcom Road. And then we have another grammar school just down the road at that intersection of, I think it's Burr and Bolcom Road. And I'm actually rather surprised the speed limit is 50 miles per hour. There's a lot of traffic on that road. I don't know if we've ever, thought about maybe reducing the speed on Bolcom Road.
Well, I think just to make the conversation clear, the motion is, there's not an assumption made on my part, at least, that there's an approval coming up. It's just that what I was suggesting, and I think what Mr. Ford was suggesting, was let's find out what the best of the situation is that we can look at, so we know when we vote that we're voting on a final product.
Correct.
And
but-
your point is well taken, Barb. It's a
Yeah.
busy, there's also an athletic facility down there. I mean, Bolcom Road is not,
Correct.
is not Brundage Road.
There's Primrose Farm there as well.
Yeah, no, it's a busy,
Yeah,
it's a busy
Yes.
place. So we have a motion. I'm awaiting a second. Mr. Ford seconds. There being no debate on a motion to table till the next meeting. Clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Brown,
Brown, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Iqbal,
Well, no.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Winnicki,
Yes.
Froz,
Yes.
Caius,
Yes.
Martin.
Martin, yes. Matter stands tabled. Environmental Resources.
I would just note, we will be presenting our budget for the Department of Environmental and Water Resources at this committee next month in August. Our 650 budget, which is our enterprise surcharge fund budget, which is the funds from the Settlers Hill landfill, will be presented at E&E committee, but we will do an overview of that fund at this committee as well.
Thank you. Was that also the water resources report?
That is correct.
Mr. Berger, do you have anything to offer today? Not even Mr. Berger here to offer. Is there any new business to be brought before this group? I think I saw our state's attorney here. So I am believing we need to move into executive session for purposes of reviewing closed session minutes. Is that correct, madam? Yes, let's, before we do that, let's put reports on file. May I have a
Guys.
motion, please. Mr. Ford moves, Mr. Kyle seconds. Clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Chairman, yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Winnicki,
Yes.
Bras, Caius,
Yes.
Martin.
Martin, yes, the
Yes.
reports are on file. The chair will now entertain the name motioned for executive session to review closed session minutes. Mr. Ford moves.
Brown seconds.
Mr. who? Mr. Brown seconds. Clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Chairman, yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon, Winnicki,
Yes.
Bras,
Yes.
Caius,
Yes.
Martin.
Martin, yes.
Yes.
Okay, everybody online, please accept your invite to go into the closed session. Remember, we are live streaming and I will let you know when we are officially in the closed session. Everyone, please accept your invites.
Even today, yeah. I know. I know, 11 votes.
Oh. What was it? Join, sorry. Thank you.
Where he-
Sorry.
Is there anybody hearing my voice that feels they should be in the closed session?
I was thinking you can make some extra money instead of cow yoga.
Yeah, you can imagine, how heavy they are. Well, I have calves.
Yeah, calf.
Because feet are so small.
Okay, you are in open session.
Thank you. Being an open session, would the clerk please call the roll?
Berman,
Here.
Brown,
All's here.
Ford, Iqbal,
Iqbal present.
Kenyon,
Yeah, here.
Warnicki,
Present.
Bras,
Here.
Caius,
Vice President.
Jepro, Pirog, Martin.
Martin present.
Got a quorum.
The chair will now entertain a motion to approve the closed session minutes pursuant to the state's attorney's recommendation of Exhibit A.
I would move that.
Mr. Kenyon moves.
Wonicky
Ms.
second.
Winnicki seconds. Comments or questions? There being none, clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Herman, yes.
Brown,
Brown, yes.
Ford, Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Warnicki,
Yes.
Bras,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Martin.
Martin, yes.
Yes.
Those minutes stand approved. Before we entertain our last motion, I'd like to comment that I received a text from Mr. Berger, who I cut off before he had a chance to say he had no report this morning. So please let the record reflect that Mr. Berger in fact responded.
Pay the rents.
Mr. Kenyon, do you have a motion you'd like to make?
Sure.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Winnicki seconds. All in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
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 Same sign. Meeting stands adjourned at 10:50